iOS 14 is here. What are you supposed to do on your Facebook ads? There's a whole world of fire and brimstone and a whole bunch of people talking a whole bunch of stuff, and most of them are solution sellers that don't actually implement anything on the platform. iOS 14 on Facebook. Let's get to the bottom of it. My name is Charlie. I'm here to help you out. Let's make it simple. Let's make it easy. Let's go crush it. All right. iOS 14. Now, this has been something that everybody I know on the internet has been really complaining about. Now, first off, what is the implication here? First, Apple has made the proclamation basically that you're not going to be able to see data in the same way. They're basically blocking information on tracking of users. Now, they also did this at iOS 13. They did this specifically in the state of California in 2020. They did it with iOS 12. The iOS 14 is a more extreme version of what we've seen every single year in this PR battle between Facebook and Apple. And every single year, somebody comes up with why that's absolutely terrible and preaches this fire and brimstone, and it's usually people that aren't good at Facebook ad execution, but do sell solutions. And either they run agencies or they're selling courses or all this other stuff. And first off, the advice they would normally give you probably isn't that good. And then they're trying to preach fear about something they don't understand because then they sell the solution to that fear. So let's get down to the bottom line thing, because this is free. I'm not charging you for YouTube. Yes, I've got other resources if you want them, but let me debunk all of this guru nonsense around iOS 14 and tell you what's actually really important. So, what's true? Yes, you're going to see less information inside of the Facebook ecosystem. What's also true? Yes, some of that information is going to be delayed. The amount of feedback that you see will be less real time than you potentially might be used to. What's another truth? Yes, eventually cookies and tracking as we know it will eventually be phased out. All right. Now, what is the ramification of those things? First, yes, you're less likely to see as many data points. Right? You're not going to see a view content and an add to cart and a page view if somebody purchases. You're just going to see the purchase. So, to elevate the quality of that data, all you need is the purchase information. You just need to know what do purchasers look like so I can make lookalikes off of those purchasers, and so that Facebook can understand when it goes through the ads, because remember, every ad is a web page, and Facebook's just measuring the bounce rate and the click-through rate and the stickiness of it and how likely that web page is to deliver your ultimate result for the event that you're optimizing towards, in this case, conversion. Well, conversion is really the only metric that is truly actionable and important. Right? Who cares if somebody's a view content? Who cares about window shoppers? I don't. I'm not optimizing towards a view content. I'm interested in making money. I'm interested in being successful, not making myself feel good about getting some vanity metric that honestly is going to overcomplicate my ecosystem and make it far less likely for me to develop successful long-term campaigns. So debunk that part. Another piece, yes, we're going to see that information from fewer people. There is going to be a subset of individuals that choose to not be tracked. Now, the implication of that, we've been seeing that for years, okay? Every year, more and more people adopt ad blocking. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, it was like less than 5% of users. Now we're legitimately in the double digits percentage of users. It might be between 15 and 35, 40%, depending on who your target market is. Generally speaking, people between the age of like 30 and 45 have a lot more ad blocking than people under 25 and people over 50. There's a certain generation that just really adopts it. And there's a certain generation that doesn't know how, and a certain other generation that doesn't give a shit. So that being said, the implication here is that yes, the continued curve of people that are preventing you from tracking their information will persist. Now, is that a problem? Yeah. How do we overcome that? Well, we don't micro-segment our audiences. We lean into the thing we should have been doing for the last 4 years and going broad. letting Facebook see every single possible person so that the lookalike audiences that are ads that our web pages are creating, because remember, every ad makes its own lookalike audience, and your audience that you're targeting is just trying to get a Venn diagram overlap of what your ads are and what you're trying to target. If you stop restricting Facebook by chasing down these unstable, expensive, highly competitive and dynamic like interest groups and other lookalike audiences based on things that aren't performance based, like a lookalike audience of video viewers. How effective is that going to be? Yes, you're probably going to see success there. Is that something you're going to be able to run for a long time? And I don't know anybody that's been running their 1% lookalike of video viewers for the last 9 months. I don't know a single person. I've been in this game for nearly a decade. I haven't heard that once. Meanwhile, if you build it around a broad audience that is literally just everybody, age, gender, and location in your target market, that's an audience you could run for years. Right? You figured that puzzle out. Now you can go on to other problems. Audiences are no longer a thing that you need to worry about. So how do we solve this problem? Is we don't microsegment. We allow the system to see more people. If 5% of individuals, if an additional 5% of people block, okay, I'm going to be targeting an audience of 100 million. If I lose 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 million of those people, I still have 90 million. Let's go extreme. I still have, let's say 40% of people block. I still have 60 million people. How many customers do you need to succeed? Well, Facebook says you need roughly 8 a day to get one ad set out of the learning phase. So maybe your business requires a couple dozen a day, a couple hundred a day. Let's say you need 1,000 a day to stay in business. How many years do you think it's going to take before you get a no from 60 million people? What I'm getting at here is the idea of audience fatigue and having to chase this down and all this lower quality stuff impacting your targeting is only relevant if you're adopting obsolete strategies. So the last thing that we got in here, another part in here is real time. Now, a lot of us like to use automated rules. We like to go after certain things. And yes, there is going to be an implication on managing day to day in real time where you're putting your investment. 100% that's true. But again, that's really only impacting you if you're not adopting the best practices. If you're still running your Facebook ad account like it's a Google account from 2011. If you're still trying to operate your Facebook acquisition as though it were, Outbrain. If your focus is on machine learning and trend analysis and not day trading inside of every single day and every single ad set on every single ad, wasting your time spending hours and hours and hours changing little boxes with numbers in them because you think that the number one way of winning is hard work and keeping Facebook as dumb as possible because you're gambling on yourself being lucky as a business model. And look, there are people that can get really good at it. They're professional gamblers, but their upside is fundamentally limited because it's only going to work as good for them as hard as they're willing to work at it. Instead of using the machine, they're really good at building houses with screwdrivers to hammer in nails, right? They've learned to become the fastest runner in their town, but you don't care about that because you have a car, right? Like I live in Los Angeles. If I were to run from my house to the ocean, it would take me all damn day. But I can get in my car and I can be there in half an hour. If you are micro-segmenting your audiences and you're day trading and making a bunch of adjustments, you're the person working really hard to be a great runner. Versus I can look at long trend data and let the machine do all the work, and I'm the person with even the worst car. Right? I could have a moped and I'll crush you every time. I could have one of those little scooter things you hop on, the little skateboard like a Lime, right? I'll crush you every time with this much effort because I'm leaning into a machine doing the work instead of me. So I hope you understand that yes, it's going to create problems. And primarily the people most affected by these problems are the people that aren't doing Facebook properly. And the people preaching these problems are those that generally got successful when the way you're supposed to utilize Facebook wasn't even an option. Or they got really successful because they put in a lot of hard work at being the best runner in their town and ignoring the fact that people have bicycles and skateboards and cars. My point is, these problems do present an issue, but the solution to them is to lean into the best practice that has existed for years of simplified ad account, relying on machine learning. Why don't you teach Facebook your business objectives instead of keeping it as dumb as possible so that you can put in a whole lot of work? I'll give you a thing that I say all the time. A complex ad account that requires a lot of work means that you're not good at Facebook ads. A sign of an elite advertiser is the simplicity of their solution. Just like anybody, elegant solutions, the things that work the best are the simplest, right? I've seen so many ad accounts that look like Rube Goldberg devices where it's 47 steps to flip a pancake. Yes, they're successful, and every step along the way made sense, but it's because they started from day one doing the wrong thing, and they just put in a lot of hard work, ignoring the opportunity of growing. They resisted change, and we're like, well, no, I don't need to change. I don't need to grow. I can be stubborn and do things the wrong way, but work really, really hard, and I'll get better than somebody else. So the last thing that I want to get to about iOS 14 and how it impacts you comes down to the way that Facebook operates. Facebook, at its core, is effectively a news feed of web pages, right? Every ad is actually a web page. Every post is a web page, and Facebook's measuring the bounce rate and the click-through rate, and like how the stickiness, right? Let's go old school development terms. It's running a heat map on your web page to see if people like it or not. Facebook's doing that on every web page. Every ad is a web page. That's functionally the way that the engineering department designed Facebook. So that's not an opinion, that's just the science of the code. If somebody has a problem with that or disagrees with it, let them know that they don't functionally understand the way the platform works. So their objective is to keep people on the platform. More than anything. The average person scrolls the height of the Eiffel Tower on a daily basis. And whether your phone is really small or really big, and I got a lot of notifications, your image or your video might only be an inch tall or maybe 2.5 inches at best. And so you've got to find a way of making that 2-3 inches on the phone, 1 or 2 inches on that phone be good enough to keep somebody's interest. Now, what this ultimately comes down to is creative testing. Find an ad that works. Let's go with the mind-boggling shift in mentality of, instead of being really smart and working really hard, why don't we stop disrespecting the customer and keeping the machine as dumb as possible? If you actually care about your customer and you actually care about the success of your business, then you're going to try to put content out there that makes them feel good about what it is that you have to say. Right? If you don't give a damn about your customer and you disrespect them constantly, and your ads are functionally a liability to the Facebook ecosystem because people see your ad and they either scroll by or they leave the platform because you are a huckster on, and Tim Cook was right, and just somebody that doesn't care about them at all, well, don't be surprised when they leave. Don't be surprised when your CPMs go up. Don't be surprised when, well, my ad just stopped working. Well, it's because the 5 people that you were actually talking to bought. And then the other 10 million people that you were targeting were offended by you completely disrespecting them. Some people were just already ready to buy. And everybody else took what you had to say in a negative way. So with the iOS 14, you just have to lean into this more. You are going to have to put more and more work into teaching Facebook what your business objectives are by stopping all this effort of day trading it and doing everything you can to feel good about yourself while keeping it as dumb as possible. And honestly, working way too hard. Because again, hard work and complexity is bad. The other side of it is laying on creative to drive it home. If you have very simple ad accounts that rely on machine learning and you're focusing on making the best customer experience built around creative, you're going to win. That's how you win in a world with less tracking. And ultimately, none of this, all of this is trying to put your best foot forward. And what's really important, more than anything, is understanding how much money you spend today and how much money you make today. And that goes into the ecosystem ROAS. And that's a whole other thing that I'd love to talk to you about some other time. Anyway, my name is Charlie. Hi. I hope this was helpful. I had a lot of fun. Let me know if there's any other way that I can help you out.